So today we are going to discuss one of the important concept that is CORS. So what is CORS and all about and all its related concepts we are going to discuss. See, so what we are developing? We are developing microservices based applications. So in microservices based application, what is happening? Now there are multiple services and the client can access those services through the API gateway. So basically, what you need to understand is, so whenever you are working with the RESTful services particularly, then the front-end application is going to be different and the back-end application is going to be different. And most of the time, right, particularly in microservices-based architecture, the front-end application, right, they can be developed using Angular, React, and Vue, and that front-end application is going to be hosted in a different origin. And while the backend applications, right, which is specifically exposed through the API gateway, are going to be hosted in a different origin. For example, right, if my API is the backend, then my web is going to be the front end. So basically, you have to understand front end URL is different, backend URL are going to be different, right? And in case of right, when the front end URL is different and the backend URL is different, or you can say the front end origin is different and the backend origin is different. And if you are developing a front end application, right, using Angular, React, and Vue, where right I mean that application, if you are developing that web application, means what, that application is going to be executed by a web browser, right? And when a browser, right, browser based application trying to call our API, so whatever APIs we develop, if a browser trying to access those APIs, and if browser using JavaScript or any jQuery calls, right, then the default browser security model will coming into the picture. And what is that default security model? Same origin policy, and it will block data request. So what exactly it means? Now, whenever the front-end application and whenever the backend services are hosted in different origin, see, I'm saying different origin. If they're hosted in the same origin, there should not be any issue. When the front-end application, backend services are hosted in different origin, and if the front-end application is a web-based application, and if we are writing some JavaScript and jQuery call to call the backend services, then by default, the same origin policy is going to be implemented by the web browser, which is going to block the cross-origin request. So in situations like this, CORS, that is one important technology you can consider, that is cross-origin resource sharing, which you have to implement on the server side. So using that CORS, the server will tell the browser, hey, Mr. Browser, I'm giving you explicit permission. Now you can consume my services. Right. So what we are going to discuss in today's session, first of all, I will explain you what is same origin policy, how the same origin policy work, right? Why they have implemented this, right? Do I need this? Is this policy coming into the picture if there is a server to server call? Then what is CORS? How CORS is implemented? How does the CORS works internally? What are the pre-flight requests? What are the CORS right related headers? All these things we will discuss. Then we will develop a right front-end application. And from that front-end application, we are going to call our login API endpoint using jQuery. And I will show you first, right? If the CORS is not enabled by the server, then what error message you are getting in the browser. Then I will show you how you can overcome that error message by enabling CORS at the server end. Again, I'm going to discuss how, right, what are the different ways to apply the CORS policy, where we can apply the CORS policies, for example, global, controller level, action method level. If multiple policies, can I create multiple policy? If yes, then how they are going to be right worked at runtime. All these things we are going to discuss in today's session. Clear? What is today's topic agenda? Clear, guys?
Yeah, clear.
Okay, so what is same origin policy? See, the same origin policy is a fundamental security rule which is enforced by the web browser that defines how websites are isolated from each other inside a user browser. It ensures that JavaScript code running on a website cannot freely access data belonging to another website, even though both may be open in the same web browser. For example, right? For example, right, you have opened two website, one banking website you open, some hacking website you open, some right untrusted site you open. Now, if once I right, if right, so what is happening that if you have written some right is JavaScript code, see JavaScript code, guys, remember JavaScript code is never going to be a trusted code. Whatever the server side programming code we are writing, right? For example, currently you can see this is our right .NET Core Web API services, microservices. So this is a trusted code. Why I'm saying this is a trusted code? Because that is going to be executed on the web server, not on the web browser. If something right executing in the web browser, that can be manipulated easily because the client can decide to enable disable javascript, the client can modify the javascript logic, right? Anything the client can do. So basically, as this is a security raise, so browser, right, they are also going to provide some first level of right defense, or you can say first level of security. So what is that security? If two different websites are running on the same browser, right, you open the browser window. For example, you can say I'm opening one website, I'm opening another website. I can open many website here. And each website, right, each website is going to be have a different origin. So what do I mean by origin? Origin basically composed of three things. One is the protocol schema. You can consider that you are using HTTP or HTTPS. Another one is the host, that is the domain name, example.com, .nettutorials.com, right? Amazon dot right dot com, so different, and port on which port number the application is running. So whenever I'm creating a URL, these three things are needed. And if any part is different, then it will consider as a different origin. Anything, right? For example, if I'm creating two, right? Okay, let me give you one idea, right? So for example, right, if I'm creating one URL, suppose https colon slash example.com. So this is one URL I created. And another URL I created, http colon slash example.com. So in this case, what is different? The different is the protocol. Here HTTPS, here HTTP. So this is a different origin. Here, if we instead of an example, I provided my example, this is a different. So whatever the port number, whatever the domain name, and whatever the scheme, right, that protocol, if anything is different, that will be considered as a different origin. And if you are using some JavaScript code to read the data, JavaScript code to read the data. For example, using JavaScript, we can send a request to the server, or we can send a request to a different application, and from there we are going to read some data. At that time, what it will do, right? It will give this restriction. So actually, it will not do the restriction at that time. Before that, only before sending the actual request, right? It is going to block the request. To block the request means what? Now it is going to check, right? If the domain, right, from where I'm sending the request to the domain from where I want to get the request. Exactly saying domain is not the technical term, origin. So from the origin where I'm sending the request to the origin from where I want to get the request. If both origin are different, then that request is going to be blocked. Clear? It doesn't matter whether you are accessing the data from another website or whether you are accessing the data from a web services. Doesn't matter. If the origin is different between the right service from where you are sending and from where you want to get the data, if both origin are different, means it is a cross origin. On the browser, same origin policy is that cross origin requests are going to be blocked. Yes, if the origin is same, right? Whatever the origin same means whatever the hosted application origin and whatever, right, if the communication is between right two different website you open here, right, not two different instances of the same application if you open, then you can share the data, that is fine, that is same origin policy. If the origin is same, you can make a JavaScript call. For example, you develop one, right, you develop one MVC based application. That MVC based application supporting both optionality. Both optionality means you can create some web APIs and right from the browser CSS HTML file. You can also still write some JavaScript code to consume some of the services, right? So in that case, what will happening that the service what is deployed and the browser URL, I mean that web application URL, both are going to be same. So in that case, you will not find any kind of CORS issues. CORS issue only coming into the picture when both the origins are different. Where I am sending the request, from where I want to get the request. If both are different, then that request is going to be blocked, and it will give some information that cross origin requests are not allowed by default by the browser. See guys, I'm saying by default it is not allowed. That doesn't mean it will not allow. 100% it will allow, but in what cases? Now in that cases, first of all, it should give send a permission request. If the server give the permission to the browser, then only the browser can access the data from the server. And for for giving that permission, what is that logic, what is that internal mechanism, that what we are going to discuss. So before that, what is same origin policy? Same origin policy means if the origin if the origin is same, right, when I'm using JavaScript using a browser, if I'm trying to access some other pages, some other services, if both origin are same, then only it will allow you to access the data. If origin are different, then it will not allow to access the data. In that case, that request is going to be blocked. Clear?
Yes.
Clear?
Yes.
Right. So in this case, so who will implement the same origin policy? 100% it is the browser. Guys, remember, if there is no browser, means what? There is no CORS policy. For example, if I am sending a request from Postman, Fiddler, Swagger, if I am sending a request using C# code, server-side code, then in that case, this CORS issue will never come into the picture. It is only coming into the picture whenever you are sending the request using browser and a JavaScript. So what is the main objective of this one? To protect the data. So you should not write, I mean, banking applications are there, email accounts, some sensitive applications you are opening, and it will protect, right? So that, you cannot access those information until and unless they have provided you the permission. And the SOAP is not a server-side security mechanism. So guys, remember, this is not related to, right? So there is no relation between our server side mechanism and so it is completely purely based on the browser that is going to be used to protect the user data when there is a cross origin request. Clear?
Yes.
What
Clear?
is SOAP? SOAP here? What is SOAP?
Same origin policy. The full form of SOP is same origin
Okay.
policy.
Okay.
That's what we discussed now. The browser
Okay.
same origin policy means if both the origin are same, then it will allow the JavaScript request, right, to access the data. Otherwise, it will not allow. Clear?
Okay. That is
Yeah,
built in your browser, right?
exactly. So why what SOAP exactly restrict and why that matters? See, we have already discussed SOAP is mainly to restrict cross-origin data request using JavaScript. So why? So because right, if it allows right, then reading cross-origin request responses, even if the request is sent, the server responds, right? So accessing right cross-origin cookies and session protected data. So you logged in into one application, so that application stores some session and cookies data. You can read those data using JavaScript. Reading and manipulating the DOM object and accessing cross-origin browser storage. Like for example, many right, front-end application they are storing the session cookies right in the local storage in the session storage, right? So without this cross-origin, I mean the browser same origin policy, you can read the data. Right, you can imagine you logged in into a banking portal. If another application, right, if they have written some kind of a cross origin code, right, I mean they have written some JavaScript code. If that JavaScript application internally, right, make a request to those right banking pages or sites and read their sensitive information, it will definitely create a security issue. So that is the reason why by default, right, you do not need to do anything special. So browser is going to restrict the search call. So you cannot directly read the data from a different website until and unless that website gives you permissions. Clear?
But
Clear?
Pranay, why only for browser? Why not for Postman or others?
See, you just tell me browser where it is running. It is running on the client machine. Yes or no?
Yes.
So browser means the user can use the developer tools. The user can modify whatever the JavaScript code, whatever the DOM object you are writing. Yes or no?
Yes.
That means what? That is secure or unsecure?
Unsecure.
100% unsecure, because as a client, as a user, I can do whatever I want. But now coming to your C# code, whatever the server code you are writing, where is that code is running?
On server.
Does the client have any idea where it is running, how it is running? Yeah, does the client have any options to modify that logic, whatever you have written?
No.
So that is the reason. So browser JavaScript is not secure. That is the reason why they have provided this restriction. But while coming into the picture, server that is already secure, right? And there is that is the reason why when there is a server to server call, this CORS issue will not coming into the picture. Only whenever you are accessing the request using browser JavaScript, at that time only you will get these issues. Clear? Not from Postman, not from Fiddler, not from Swagger, right? Only when you are using JavaScript. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So how exactly the same origin policy work? Let us try to understand. See, so this is my website and this is my web service. Now the website URL or the origin you can see https:/example.com/page. And here, that API that where I'm hosting, that domain name is also same http://example.com API. So in this case, both the origin are same or different?
Same.
Original same or different? Same, obviously. Here the HTTPS protocol, here HTTPS protocol. The domain is example.com, here also example.com. So same origin request. So the request, this web application can read the data from this web service. Now coming to this part, here the origin is example.com. And here, I mean the domain is example.com, and here other hyphen site.com. So basically, these are the same origin or two different origin?
So different origin.
When the different origin are there, then this application cannot directly access the data from this web service. In this case, JavaScript, if you are writing some JavaScript code like using Angular or React, any client-side programming, client-side framework, and if you are trying to access the data using JavaScript or jQuery, the browser is going to block that request. Clear?
Yes.
Right. So same origin or you can see. Now what is CORS? See, CORS is a standard header based mechanism. So whenever I'm saying standard header based mechanism means what? Means it is going to work with the header, request header, response header, no content, right? No request body, no response body. It is only going to work with the headers. As a client, the browser can send a request using that request can contain the header. As a server, the server can return some response. Again, that response is going to be in the form of a HTTP header. So this is a header-based mechanism. What exactly this mechanism is meaning? Now, this mechanism, the CORS is going to be implemented by the server. See, same origin policy is going to be implemented by the browser, whereas a CORS is going to be implemented by the server only. So using this CORS as a server, you can tell the browser, hey, Mr. Browser, I'm giving you explicit permission. Now you can access the data from my application. Again, here also you can specify, right? For example, it is not like I give the permissions to every application. It is not possible like that. So that is possible, but ideally what you need to do, for example, this is my services. And you also know these are the different web applications, right? They can access the data using JavaScript. So apart from this origin, for example, some particular website URL you mentioned. Yes, this is valid URL, this is valid URL, this is valid URL. Apart from these three URL, if anyone trying to access the data, please block that request. So that's what that cross origin request sharing means. So SOAP blocks cross origin request by default. CORS provide a control and rule-based exceptions, right? When the server explicitly allows it. So by default, SOAP block the cross origin request. The CORS, right? While CORS, it is provided a rate controller, or you can say some rule-based mechanism where it is telling the browser, hey, Mr. Browser, if the request is coming from this and this and this origin, please allow them. From other origin, please block the request. Clear? Right? For example, here let assume you have multiple sites, site A, site B, site C, and some other sites. So if you register these three sites are the valid site, right, to access the data using browser JavaScript, then what you need to do? You need to create some CORS policy within the web server. Using that CORS policy, you need to specify these three are the valid websites. Apart from these three, any other websites trying to access, please block. So that's what the cross origin resource sharing means. Clear? Clear or not?
Yeah, clear.
Right? How it is working internally, I will show you in some time. So whenever you are working with the CORS, you need to understand some important headers. What are the headers? Now, what are the headers? The browser is going to send. What are the headers? The server is going to return. As a browser, it can send origin from where the request is being sent. What is the actual request method, whether it is a post method, put method, and what are the actual headers that are going to be sent right within the original request. So basically what happening, if I'm sending a request, that request is composed of what are the things, what is the method type, get, post, put, patch, delete, what are the different, definitely that URL is going to be there, that resource URL, and some request headers, right? So some request header like authentication header, X client API header, some custom header, right? Whatever the header you want to send. So basically, that request header, right, that is going to be sent to the browser is nothing but this origin. See, again, I have not yet discussed, right, when these headers are going to be sent. But yes, remember, before sending the actual request, a permission check request is being sent by the user, sorry, by the browser. So basically, right before accessing the actual endpoint, you will send a pre-flight request. So that particular terminology is pre-flight request, or you can say permission check request. To whom? To the web server. And while it is sending the request, so what is the origin? Origin means from where this request is being sent. What is the actual request method that what the user trying to access, and what is the headers that are being sent as part of the actual request. So this information it will send to the server, right? So these are the information it is going to be sent to the server, right? Then server is going to check what is the origin, what is the method, and what is the header, and as per my course policy, is this valid or, if this is valid, okay, I will respond with some response header. If it is not valid, I will also respond with some right. I mean, if CORS is enabled, that is fine. If not enabled, definitely that request is going to be blocked. If it is enabled, then based on the data, whether it is allowed or not, so it is going to respond to this header. So if CORS is if enabled, then it will give you access control allow origin. Means what? Now, which origins are allowed to access the request for this particular method? What are the valid method that is going to be supported by the server for that particular request? For example, it might be possible that the same endpoint you can access using get and push, that is possible. What are the allowed headers, right, for this particular request? And the access control maxes means what? Now, once I return this response to the right browser, how long the browser can cache this response, so that if the same request coming from the same browser's instance, they do not need to send this pre-flight request again and again. They can reuse that response, but how long they can reuse, that what going to be set by this pre-flight permissions. If this is not at the clear, right, at this moment, don't worry. I'm also going to show you this thing practically. So basically, the browser is going to send some information. The server is going to respond with some information. Here, whatever the information the browser is sending, whatever the information the server is responding, everything in the form of a HTTP header. Sending means request header, receiving means response header. Request header means that is going to be sent by the browser. Response header means that is going to be sent by the server. Clear? Clear, guys?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Right. So how
What
it
do you mean
works?
by what do you mean
Yes.
by header?
Sorry?
Like anything we pass in the request header, you are saying like access control request header.
Access control. What is access control request header? Which
In the
one?
request, yeah.
So you just tell me. So whenever have you ever sent any request? For example, so what are these?
Yeah, there are many things are there. Is it like
You just tell me what are these? These are request header or response header?
request header?
And what are these?
It's a response header.
So this request header, right? For example, if I'm sending this login request, so what is the header I'm passing? I'm passing something, right? For example, here, what is the content type, right? What is the accept? What is user agent? So these are some of the built-in header. Similarly, if you want to go to this order page, right? So here also I'm sending this authorization header. So this is my actual request, and from this actual request, this is my actual header or not?
Yeah.
So if I'm sending this post request, right, particularly, then what is the request type here? Post. So in that case, it is going to set the method as a post. What are the request header? So whatever the custom headers you are sending, authorization, content type. So these are some of the header you are sending. So these header are going to be set inside this headers list.
So those all the header, whatever custom header, more than one, whatever is there, all those things should be allowed in the course as per course.
Yes. No. See, that's what I'm going to tell you. See, in this
Okay.
case, you can send multiple header. But
Yeah.
as for the course policy, all these headers are acceptable or not?
Okay.
For example, I'm sending here three headers. But as per the course policy, you only need to pass one header. That means that that request is not matched. No? So in that case, it will block that request. So whatever the policy I'm setting here, am I getting those things or not from the request?
Okay.
Right? So I will show you
Yeah.
this thing. You will get clarity. Don't worry. So
Got it.
now, sorry, anyone having any
Yes.
question?
No, fine.
So now, how does the course origin resource sharing exactly work? See, guys, remember, you have to remember two things. Now, before sending the actual request, if it is a, if that request is being sent using a jQuery Ajax or JavaScript, right? If you are writing some JavaScript code or Ajax code, send the request. Then before sending the actual request, the browser will send a pre-flight request. What exactly this pre-flight request means? It is an option request. So in that case, that request is going to be option. That like this, you can see there is something called option, and that option request is going to contain a list of HTTP header. What those headers are going to contain? Now, what is the origin from where I'm sending that request? That origin. What is the actual method, right? That what I'm trying to access. What is that right method type, and what are the headers? So this information it will pass in the request header to whom? To the server. So basically, in this case, this is before sending the actual request, it will send a pre-flight request to the server. Once the server, if CORS is enabled, then the right server is going to verify whether for that particular request, whether this HTTP method is allowed, these HTTP headers are allowed or not. And again, most importantly, whether the request, right, whether this origin is a valid origin to access the response or not. So once it verifies all these things, right, if everything is fine according to the course policy, then it will return a pre-flight response. And that pre-flight response going to contain this information, origin, method, and headers, right? So what are the allowed origins for this for that particular request? What are the HTTP methods allowed and which headers are right allowed? All this information it will return. And then the browser is going to verify, okay, whatever the origin method headers I'm getting and whatever the user is trying to pass, All these things are the same. Yes, everything is same. Okay. Then what the browser is going to do? The browser then send the actual request to the server. The server is going to process the request and return the response. This is happening when the ready fast request is being sent. Clear?
Yes.
Clear or not? See, in this case, when it retrieve the pre-flight response, that response it is also going to cache in the browser. So why it is going to cache the response in the browser? Now within the same browser session, if you are trying to send the same request to the server, it is going to check, right, whether the pre-flight cache result is available or this particular request, yes, it is available. Okay. And from this response, it know that that whatever the request header and whatever the result cache is there, both are matching fine. So directly he can send the request to the server. Why? Improve the performance. So first time it will cache the result until and unless that browser search session is not closed. If you are sending the request to the same endpoint, then it can directly make use of the pre-flight cache response instead of making another pre-flight request. And using that result cache, then it can send the request to the server. Clear?
So the pre-flight request is only for the SOP or any other purpose?
No, only for the SOP. So this pre-flight request means it is going to send right internally. You do not need to do anything special for this pre-flight
Yeah,
request.
yeah.
It is the browser default behavior. Before making any cross-origin request, it will send the pre-flight request to check whether the server have permission for this particular request from this origin or not. The service if the permission, right, so basically this pre-flight request you can consider permission rate checking. So before entering, I need to check whether I have the permission to enter the or not. So that's what it is going to do within this pre-flight request.
So
Right? Clear?
the max timeout, the catch will be captured, right? After the first response.
Yes. So as long as that is in the cache, it will directly send the request. If that is deleted from the cache, again that pre-flight request will come in into the picture. Clear?
Okay.
So here data will be cached by the browser by default, or we have to write
Data
some
is not
code?
going to be cache. Remember, data is not going to be cache. It is the pre-flight request, that the options request, that what it is sending in the first time before sending the actual request. So that is going to be sent. So again, I'm saying pre-flight response means it is only going to be a set of a response header, no response body. Clear?
Yeah.
Right? So data is not going to be cached in pre-flight, only the response header. And this is not the original request you have to run. This is just a permission check request that is going to be sent by the browser automatically. You do not need to write any kind of coding for this purpose. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Right? So why CORS matter in microservices? Definitely, right? In microservices, CORS becomes important. Why? Because our system is usually split into multiple domains, subdomains, and right ports. A front-end application that can be developed using Angular, React 2 often runs on one origin. Right, while the API entry point, right, which is going to be the single entry point for all the client requests, that can be deployed in a different origin. Since browser enforces same origin policy, these calls are treated as CORS origin and will be blocked by browser unless CORS is configured correctly in our microservices, right? So where to configure the CORS? Do I need to configure the CORS at the API gateway or individual services? The recommended option is API gateway. Why? Because this is the single entry point for all the client requests. So before entering into our actual microservices, from the API gateway itself, it is going to check whether I should proceed or not. We improve the user preference, to improve the security. The best place is to apply the CORS is at the API gateway level, right? So why you need a right CORS? Because because the client is a browser based application. If once you develop the microservices, if you think, see, if you are developing some services and you are sure that those services are never going to be consumed by any client application which is using browser, then CORS is not required. CORS is only required right? When the client is a browser-based approach, again, when the browser runs JavaScript to call our services, again, when the client application and the API are different origin, right? So in that scenarios, you need to go with the CORS. If you are developing the services for service to service call, if you are developing services which is going to consumed by some server side code, if you are developing applications which is going to be only consumed by the mobile applications, right? If your UI and the API are hosted in the same origin, then in situations like this, CORS is not required. CORS is only required, right, when you are running the application in a different origin. Again, if that application, right, uses JavaScript to call our services. Clear? Clear? So no browser, no JavaScript means no.
Can you go up? I want to understand the statement you mentioned. Yeah, like you mentioned when you actually need CORS.
Yeah. See, if the
Like,
client is a browser-based app,
no, above line. The CORS exists for browser, not for APIs. Above that.
this one,
Yeah, yeah.
what is
The last statement. When CORS
this one?
only in specific. No, that's the above statement. Yeah, different origin. The browser must allow JavaScript to read the response. CORS exists.
See, whatever I have written in the document, don't go through it. I will share. Whatever I'm explaining, are you understanding or not?
Yeah.
Because see, if while I'm explaining, if you are reading the document, then whatever I'm explaining, that will not go into inside your brain for sure.
Okay.
And whatever I explained, that only I have written here. We need CORS only in the specific scenario where JavaScript running inside a browser calls the API on a different origin. So this is what we have already discussed. If I am running JavaScript code inside a browser, it I am calling the API, and that is to with a different origin, then only I need CORS. Clear?
And the third line, I thought it's a continuation. It's a third line. That's where I got confused. CORS exists for browser, not for API.
Yeah, so definitely. See, CORS means what? If you are right, that CORS means what? If there is no browser, means there is no CORS at all. If
So,
browser,
yeah, when we call API to API, the CORS will not
not required.
be.
See, that's what I'm mentioning here. If you are doing service to service call, if you are calling from backend services, if you are calling from mobile apps, if you are using Postman, if both UI and API, right, is same within the same origin, then CORS is not required.
Okay.
Clear? Okay. So now what I'm going to do, guys, I will implement this thing right practically in our application.
Can I
Yes.
have one doubt? Can you go through that last point? Yeah,
Sorry.
as you said, UI and API served from the same origin point. Do you have ideally such a situation both have the same origin?
If you are developing the MVC-based application, right? So from the MVC-based application, can I create some, right? What I can say, uh, PI, right? I mean, some method which is going to return me some JSON data. For example, if I'm developing, right, cascading drop-down list, so based on the one drop-down list value, I want to populate the other drop-down list. So in that case, how you are developing that application using ASP.NET Core MVC? Do you have any knowledge related to ASP.NET Core MVC?
Yes.
Then answer me how you are going to implement that cascading drop down list.
So whatever the value changed in the drop-down list, I pick that value and I send it to the other drop-down list. Depending on that
But
value, I
how
can
you are
change.
right? But how you are getting right? For example, one drop down value is changed. Then how you are going to populate that other drop down value? From where you will get the data? How you will get the data without making a page refresh?
Yeah, we will use the Ajax call wherein we will
Exactly.
use like,
Exactly. So that Ajax call what you are using, that is nothing but a browser JavaScript.
yes.
And it is a MVC application means you can also develop some services within the controller. So
Yes.
that in that case, that services and that right browser JavaScript where it is being loaded Both are in the same domain or a different domain?
It is same domain,
Same domain means same origin or a different origin?
same origin.
Same.
In that case, you do not need to enable CORS in your MVC application. But let's assume the same concept in Web API. So your front-end application is different, Web API is different. Then in that case, if you want to populate that drop-down list, you have to make one AJAX call. But again, that API what you are consuming, that is going to be in a different origin. So in situations like this, you have to go with the CORS. Clear?
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to implement CORS and I will show you exactly right how CORS is going to be implemented. So I'm not going to implement any right front-end application because that is not the main objective of our right microservices. Front-end can be anything, right? So that front-end can be Angular, can be Vue, can be right what I can say React, can be a MVC application also, right? As .NET people, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a ASP.NET Core MVC application. I'll create one controller, action method, and one page. And within that page, using JavaScript AJAX call, I'm going to invoke our user's login endpoint. That is going to be API gateway endpoint. And then I will show you how you can do that cross-origin request work. And first of all, I will show you what is the problem. Then I will show you how you can overcome that problem using I mean enabling the CORS. What are the related concepts that what you need to understand for the CORS scenario? So let me start with one application. So within the same solution, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add another folder. Let me give the folder name as web. Is this a solution folder? Not. So let me delete this one. Add. Okay, new solution folder. Web. I'm giving the name as a web, right? And to this web folder, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a I'm going to add a web application, ASP.NET Core MVC model view controller template based application. So let me right click, add new project. This one, so ASP.NET Core web app model view controller. I'm providing the project name as e-commerce web. And then I'm using the same .NET 8 and click on the create button. So this should create my web application. So from this web application, what I'm going to do, I'm going to first of all I'm going to include the CDN and all these things to make the web page looks little better. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add the what I can say bootstrap CDN and the layout file. This is the best place. So let me go ahead and I just changed this one. So basically here I'm providing one button, two buttons actually I'm providing. One is registered and the login button. So registered button I'm not providing. This is a task for you. And this login button I'm going to implement, right? So and within this login button I'm going to display and some of the JavaScript and jQuery related files I have provided, right? So next what I'm going to do, I'm going to create my account controller. So let me go ahead, open the controllers folder, add controller. This time select MVC controller, account controller. And here I'm going to create one method that is the login method, right? So this is the login method and this login method I'm going to create. So how you can do this very simple way, add view, reserve view empty, give the name as a login. So
For
this
UI,
should
you are
create
using MVC application.
sorry.
For UI, you are using MVC application to demonstrate the class origin.
Yes. MVC because for Angular that setup is going to be very top and even most of the people they might not be aware about Angular because MVC. I hope some of you guys know already MVC. And again that is not our primary objective. MVC is not our main objective, and I'm not going to explain this front end. What I'm going to discuss, that CORS part only, right? So again I missed one more thing, right? That is fine. Okay. So I'm going to add one key in the offsetting.json file. right? That key is nothing but the base URL of my API gateway. So this is my base URL of the API gateway, and using this API gateway, I can access access the endpoint, right? So now, if you go to the login.cs HTML file, this is very simple. I'm taking the username or email you can enter, the password you can enter, and the login button. And then, right, what I'm doing here, please observe. I have written some message to display the whatever the response I'm getting. That response I'm going to display within one div element. You can see div I have added where it is going to add now within this div. So here the ID is message. So to this ID, it is going to append this div element dynamically based on the response what it is going to get from the UI. So this is my login form on submit button. So here you can see this is my button, right? Type is type submit. So when this login form, right, submit button is being clicked. So here you can see that form submit button is being clicked. Then what exactly it is going to do? It is going to create one payload. That payload, it is taking the email, password, and web. So basically, you can see if you go to the API gateway login endpoint, right? What are the data I need to pass? I need to pass email or username, password, and client ID. So that's what I'm creating here. Email or username, I'm getting the email from the text box. I'm getting the password from the text box, and hard-coded client ID is going to be this one. And this is my full URL. So get the user base URL. To this URL, I'm appending this one, user/user/login. So this is what I'm appending, right? This will make my full URL. The type is going to be post. You can see post. What header I'm specifying here? Application/JSON. This is the header I specified that I'm going to send the data right in the form of JSON. So that content type header you can also it is being added. Then right, I'm specifying the data type as JSON, right? So right, JSON means what? Now it is going to tell that I want the response in JSON format, right? Not this is not the data type, right? Tell the jQuery to parse the response as JSON. So basically, what exactly it means? Now it means we are telling the jQuery that whatever the response we are going to get, right, we are going to get the response in a JSON format instead of a XML. Right. So here, what I'm doing here, I'm converting that payload to write the JSON string. I mean, it will convert that into a JSON object, and that JSON object we are going to pass, right? So that data is the one that what it is going to pass in the. I mean, whatever the JSON object you want to pass, that's what you need to pass in the data. This is the request body, success function and error function. So if I'm getting the success function, then this is the message I'm going to display: login successful or login failed. And in case of an error, I'm going to discourage so that the CORS issue login failed, right? So this is going to my UI. Now, if you run the application, then it will work as expected, right? So let me show you. So currently, guys, remember, I have not yet enabled, right? What I have not yet enabled CORS. And one more changes I need to do. I need to make sure that the account controller login page is going to be the what I can say default page. So now if I set this for application as the startup project, so set as startup project, if you run the application, then that login page is going to be visible. Let me run the application. See, this is the login page that is going to be visible. So to make sure right everything is work as expected, right? So first of all, what I need to do, I need to open my console window. So run the console so that it can register the application. And for login purpose, two endpointers, two APIs are sufficient. One is gateway, another one is user service. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start the gateway project. I'm going to start the user service and the web application. So how I can do this thing, three projects. So go to the properties window, select this multiple properties, and now decide which project you want to start. Order service, no. Product service, no. User service, yes. So let's set this none. Let's set this none. User service, yes. Orchestrator service, no. Notification service, no. E-commerce.api gateway, yes. And another service I want to start, which one? Guys, tell me.
Web.
That web application, right? E-commerce.web. So this project also I want to start. Select apply and OK. So guys, remember, till now we have not enabled the CORS. Why only the, okay, this is also coming. So, okay, this is also coming. So all the three applications are currently running. So to understand CORS, first of all, open this browser developer tool by pressing F12 key. Right, so that's what you need to press. Now I want to test the functionality. So this is my username. I am copying, and this is my username, and then this is going to be the password. So client ID we are automatically setting in the browser. So with these changes right now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on this login button. So what I'm getting here, CORS issue. So to understand this correctly, you can see there are two requests is being sent. What are the requests? One you can see pre-flight request, another one is the login. So as the pre-flight request is returning 404 means what? CORS is not enabled by the server. I mean, CORS is not yet enabled. Once it is enabled, then it is going to return the CORS response header. But now CORS is not enabled. And here you can see, if you see, not this one. So you can see that response, I'm not getting any CORS related response header. Right, so CORS is not enabled. That is the reason why my actual request is also failed. Now to understand this, if you go to the console tag, you can see access to XML HTTP request, at this point from origin this has been blocked by CORS policy. So what exactly it means, to understand this very clearly. So it is saying our login page is running on this point, right? So for example, in this case, what is that login point? 7014, right? So 70. See, when I take this screenshot, at that time it is running on 7125. And the API gateway is running on this endpoint 7204, right? So this is nothing but your API origin, and this is going to be our application origin. And the browser treats different parts as the different websites. So basically, what I mentioned from the beginning, three things it will take into consideration. One is the scheme or the protocol. Another is the domain. So here scheme is same, domain is same, but the port number they are same or different. Port number are different. So anything is different means it's a different origin. So when it is saying, find this one, then what is happening now when our page is JavaScript, whatever the JavaScript or jQuery code we have written, trying to call the gateway, In this case, it is calling this gateway. The browser first send a permission check request, That permission check request, you can see this is the permission check request, So this is going to be the permission check request, 404, you can say pre-flight request. Permission check request, the browser sent this one. On this permission check request, it is going to be a pre-flight or options, If you go to this one, particularly, then you will see this is a option request. So general, you can see what is that request method? Options request, And here what I'm getting 404 means CORS is not yet enabled because the gateway doesn't return any required CORS permissions, Gateway doesn't provide any permissions. So this access allow origin, The browser blocks the request and shows the CORS error. So as it is not getting any CORS related headers, particularly this allow access control origin header from the server. So what the browser is going to do, it is going to block the request by showing this CORS error. Clear?
Yeah,
And
why
this,
that? Can you go to the screen, browser? Yeah, why the first one is different, not a option? I thought the first one would be the option, but here it is different.
see, fast request is this one, then it is this one. Don't think that
Yeah.
this is the first request. This is the first request. This is the second request.
Can you show the time?
But it is coming in order like second order, so we thought like it is the second
star.
request.
This is the star.
Can
This
you
is
click
the
on
first
that?
one. This is the second one.
The pre-flight request which we sent, that is first or second?
First one.
First one, okay.
Yeah,
First
but
of all, if you send pre-flight request, Based on the response, it is going to decide. At the pre-flight request, I'm not getting any response from the pre-flight request. Directly, it is blocking this one, showing that the CORS is used. So the original request is never sent. See, you can see response header. Does it get any response from the header?
What could be the cause? Why it is coming in second in the row?
Don't go with the row. Why it is the row means what? So what I'm saying, this is the first request. This is the second request. Clear? Well, I don't understand, right? Why is this a question? Why it is coming first? Why it is coming second? I said this is a stack. Stack means first request, then second request. Stack means it is going to put the data one after another, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Got it.
So this is the first request. This is the second request. That doesn't make any sense, right? Right? Which one is coming first or which one is showing here second? That is only for the display purpose. And right, this is Google Chrome. It is showing like this. If you move to a different browser, they might be showing that request right in a different order. We cannot do anything right with the how the browser is showing that sequence, right? But what we need to understand, right? You can say this is going to be our Preflight request. This is the first request. And as we are not getting any response from the right server, original request, right, it is showing as a CORS error. And that CORS error, right, you can also see here. Clear?
Pranay, suppose first request is filled, then how does it send again or only shows the error?
In this case,
How
it is
it
not
works?
sending any. It is not sending any error. Directly, it is showing this error. That
Okay.
right,
It
this request is
okay.
wrong.
It doesn't send to server again. Directly shows the.
Yes, it will not send, and it is directly showing right. And how you can prove this? See, any response is there for this particular
No,
request? Any
no.
response header are there?
Yes.
Yes, these are the original request header, which is already there. But before, right, once it get the response of the pre-flight request, it simply block this one,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Clear?
Yeah.
Right now. So now how to enable CORS? And it's a guys, remember it's a very simple process. So basically we need to follow two-step process. Step one, we need to register the CORS service where we need to define the rules. Rules means what? What are the allowed headers? What are the allows origin? What are the allowed methods? Second step, right? We need to specify the right. We need to decide when this CORS policy will be applicable, right, in the request processing pipeline. So for this purpose, first of all, let me go ahead and define the rules. So here, right, what I'm going to do, go to the right program class file of your API gateway project. Let me stop this one. So within this program.cs class file, so before your builder.build method, right, what I need to do, I need to define the CORS policy. So what is this CORS policy? I'm starting with a very basic one. So I'm registering my core services so that later on, right, whatever the policy I'm defining here, that can be used by the middleware. I mean, whatever the policy I defined here, that can be applied globally, that can be applied on the controller level, that can also be applied at the action method level, right? So in this case, right, I'm creating one policy. Name, you can give it anything. So this is my allow all. And what is that policy here? I'm expecting, right, I'm accepting request from any origin. I'm accepting request from any header. I'm accepting request from any method. So you can define whichever method are allowed. For example, you develop some services, right, and you want to ensure my service, my application can only handle the post request and get request. Apart from post and get, nothing is right acceptable. You can specify those methods. I'm going to discuss also that one. So whichever headers are allowed, right? Content type, authorization, some custom header, whichever origin, right? Site 1, site 2, site 3. So those things you can specify. So first of all, you need to define the policy. So here it is going to define the rules and regulations. Second one, you have to apply that policy, right? Where you need to apply now before the after the routing and before the authentication. So why? Now because if I'm executing the authentication first, then because when the CORS request is being made, at that time the browser is not sending any authentication and authorization token. It is just a normal call to check whether this request is acceptable by the server or not. So basically what we need to do now, before after the routing and before the use authentication, I need to use. And here what I need to do, I need to specify the policy what we define. That name I need to provide. So you can create multiple policies, right? Like this 1, 2, 3, multiple policy you can create, and you can apply only one policy globally. Yes, you can apply different policy at the controller level, different policy at the action method level, right? But here I'm applying this one. So with this statement, what will happen at runtime when the request will come, as we have enabled this CORS middleware component. So now that CORS request is going to be handled by the server, and the server is going to check, right, whatever the request header, whatever the request method type, right, is being sent by the browser, is that a valid according to this one. So it is not going to check whether that valid or invalid. It is simply going to return this information. This header it is going to return. These are the valid header. Then the browser will take the decision, right? Whether I should send the request or not. So according to the origin header and method that is written by the server, the browser is going to check what is the header method and that right, whatever header, whatever the method type the user trying to send, is this valid or not? And if it is valid, then it will send the original request. So let me run this one and show you this thing practically. So this is login endpoint, this is our API, and this is fine. So Pranay 777, this is the username, and this is the password. Now, so before running, what I'm going to do, I'm opening this one to make sure, right? 2 requests should be sent. Okay, click on the login button. Okay. See, first request is 204. You understand which one is sent first? Now it is visible which one is sent first or not. First this request sent, then only it is sending this request. So and you are getting this response after some time period or not? Yes or no? Now if you go to this login, right, you can see that response body is empty or some data is there.
Empty.
So when what I mentioned from the beginning, pre-flight request means it is going to deal with only header, no response body. Clear? Now, if you go to header, does it contain any response header? See, here I'm getting 204 no content. That is absolutely fine because we are not going to deal with the response body. And then if you look at this response header, am I getting that right request related? I mean that course headers. What is the content type allow headers? What is access method? And what are the allows origin? Yes, this header, whatever I'm trying to send is allowed. Method post is allowed. And this access control allow origin means star. So any request can be sent. And here also you can see that message login is successful. Clear?
Yeah, what is the content type for request header? It says content type.
So you just tell me what is content type because right, this is a very basic thing. If you are working with a right any kind of a web application, it's very common. You should know what is content type, what is accept header. You tell me what is the difference between a content type and accept header. Tell me what is the use of these two header.
The content
Content type
type,
means
what is it
what
expect from the
what
response?
type of data the user is sending. Accept means type means what type of data the client expect from the tell me server. So you know what you know the concept called right uh, what is that concept, guys?
Content negotiation you are talking.
Content negotiation, right? So basically using a content type request header, I can tell the server, hey, Mr. Server, I'm sending the data in XML format. I'm sending the data in JSON format. And at the same time, using this accept header, the browser will also tell the server, hey, Mr. Server, is it possible to respond me with the data in the form of a JSON? Can you send me the response in the form of a XML? That is the meaning of a accept header. And in this case, right, if you look at this, right, we have setting one header that is going to be application slash JSON. Means what? We are sending a JSON payload. Clear? This is my JSON payload. That's what I'm sending. So that is the reason why I'm specifying the content type header. That content type header, right? It is also sending in the
Yeah,
right request.
yeah, my question is in the CORS policy, we mentioned, I think, all header. I think, can you go to the CORS policy in the
It's fine, but it is fine. But in this case, right, that is fine. But in this case, whatever the policy I'm sending, right, this header is acceptable or not, whether this post method is acceptable or not, and what are the allows original, this is what it is responding, right? Because in this case, in the request, I'm setting the header as a content type, I'm setting the method as post, and the origin is this one. As I'm sending this content type and a post, so by default it is expecting, yes, that is valid. And that's what it is responding, right? So now what I'm going to do, right? Can we apply multiple course policy? Yes, absolutely it is possible to specify multiple course policy. Let us try to observe. So now what I'm going to do, go to the program class file, right? So now, so this is allow all. One policy I have defined, strict MVC. I have defined another policy, and this is mixed policy. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to define the strict MVC. So that policy I want to allow. Now this policy will come into the picture. This policy will accept request from this origin. And now my web application is running on which origin? This is the origin. Means what? It is the same origin or a different origin? I mean, this is the acceptable endpoint, but currently my application is running on a different endpoint. Means what? Means right from whichever origin I'm sending the request, from that origin, my application is right. My application will accept the request or not.
Not.
So what is that port number where my application is running?
7014.
7014. And what is that port number I mentioned here?
7152.
So if I'm sending the request from here, is this going to be acceptable by the server? Tell me, you guys tell me.
No, no.
Because we are explicitly specifying this origin. Means only JavaScript request from this origin is acceptable. From other origin, that request is going to be blocked. So let me also prove this one. CORS issue? Yes or no? CORS issue or not?
Yeah.
Now, if you look at this 204C, in this case, a Preflight is successful. Why Preflight is successful? Because we have implemented CORS. But what it responds? If you look at the response, right, in this case, right, options is there, right? I think it is taking from the right correlation ID server, right? And in this case, whatever the request header, request method, right? Whatever we specified, according to the policy, this is not valid. And in this case, it is not responding those headers, and the browser simply consider this is invalid. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to mark this one here, right? So instead of this, I just change to this one. So with these changes, let me run the application. Sorry. getting the response. Why I'm getting the response? Because now it is acceptable. Clear? And in this case, what exactly it is doing? It is actually sending a post request. So suppose I remove this one, then what will happen? Let me run this one. Should it accept or not?
No.
Login successful. Why it is successful? Because it might be getting the data from the memory, right? So let me go ahead. Access control request method post. Access control allow method get. Why it is allowing? Because ideally it should not allow, right? Might be because of the caching issue. Let me run one more time.
What is happening? Sorry, I didn't watch.
Might be taking the information from the cache. Right? If the preflight is itself right already stored the data in the cache, right? It might be already we are disabling the cache.
Can we try in the incognito mode as well, sir?
That is what I'm doing. Because that preflight request it is going to store in the cache, right? So let me run this one from the incognito mode. Again, it is successful. Not sure why it is how it is working. Because whatever the method we specify, these methods are only acceptable.
Yeah, what type we are following? We are passing post.
Yes. We are making a post request.
I think it takes other policy.
And here in the policy, we mentioned that, right? We only right accept get request.
Yeah, but other policy, what about other policy? Maybe it goes to
No,
which one?
this policy will not come into the picture. Why? Because we mentioned which policy to be used here. It might be because of the caching issue. I'm not sure, but ideally it will not work. So here it is working. How it is working, even I'm not sure. Right? Let me also remove this one. Now it is showing that error. Now it is showing that error, right? Earlier, why it was, I'm not sure. Okay, let me do one more thing. Let me change this one now and see whether this time it is working fine or not. Not sure why it is working.
You mentioned content type equal to authorization, maybe that.
No, this means these are the different header I am expecting. One is a content type header from the client, another one is authorization header. If I'm
Okay.
removing this header, right, it is not working. But I don't know why it is not working, right? Why it is not the same with the get request. Might be by default it is right taking those get post. Even I'm not sure. You guys also do some research, right? Why it is working even after specifying the right? Even I'm not specifying the post request here, but when the request comes, that post request come, it still accept, right? Why?
Yeah.
It even, right? At what, ideally it should not work, but why it is working? Please have it, please do some research. But how it is
Yeah.
working internally, is that clear?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is all about our course. Tomorrow we will discuss, right, OData. Another new important concept, right? What is OData? OData means using, right? Using SQL like syntax, right? You can build the query and that is going to be executed right by the server, and the server is going to return the data. Interesting concept. We'll discuss, and after OData, we are going to discuss, right? Another important concept I have already highlighted. What are the topics? So that's what we'll discuss. So tomorrow we have a session, and in the next week we are going to take 3 sessions in the daytime. And most probably, whatever the remaining, right? Mostly by the end of this month, I'll complete this complete microservices sessions. And from March 4th, right, I'm going to start 45 days training program related to design patterns. Very, very interesting. And if anybody interested, right, for the same, they can join the course, right? Very interesting. According to the real time, right, how you are developing the applications, uh, all the design pattern starting from the OOPS concept, right? Because to understand design pattern, very good knowledge of OOPS concept is mandatory. I will also discuss the solid principle, dependency injection. This is our main objective, right? You can go put 23 design patterns. So what are the creational, structural, behavioral design patterns, right? After this thing, right, I'm also going to cover some of the advanced design pattern like a repository, generic repository, unit of work, some course related, right? Command query. We have already discussed this course. Event driven design pattern we are going to discuss. We are also going to discuss clean architecture, onion architecture, domain driven design architecture, and some other concept, right? Few members have highlighted, right? Right, options pattern, result design pattern, right? Some additional concept also going to be included, and this is mandatory nowadays because you are learning microservices means you are going into architectural level, right? So you can define the architecture 100%. I am sure now you can define the microservices based architecture and you can start working. Without a design pattern, right, your real time application is never going to be completed. What is the existence of each design pattern and what scenario you need to implement such design patterns? Practically, I'm going to explain. First of all, I will make you understand the concept, the UML diagram, right? And the right, some layman different components, right? How that design pattern is composed, different components, right? How we can develop a small application using that design pattern. Then I'm going to discuss, right, how you can implement in a real time application. So I'll give each design pattern I'm going to explain in a real-time application, right? So one console application to understand that design pattern, another web API application to understand how it is being used in real time. If anyone interested, right, they can join the session, and definitely it will help you, right? Because I'm not sure, right, whether you guys all right know these design patterns or not. Yes, I'm sure few of the design patterns you might be knowing, right? Like a singleton design pattern you might be know, factory design pattern you might be know, right? But do you know prototype design pattern, builder design pattern, bridge design pattern, composite design pattern, decorator, state, flyweight, facade, proxy, many design patterns are there. And all these design patterns I'm going to explain, right, with real-time applications. Clear, guys? And guys, Sunday no class. Right, Tuesday we'll take one session, 2 hour session in the morning. Tomorrow we have a session.
Tomorrow,
Yes, yes,
tomorrow
tomorrow.
evening, same time.
Yes, yes. Only this weekend
And
is it, from the next week. It is again in the morning time, right? So
and
tomorrow we have a session and we'll discuss core data.
and what is the
Clear?
duration of this design pattern?
45 days.
Okay.
Okay, so
So
basically I'm
what will be
targeting
the charge for this one? Any fees for this one?
4,000. 4,000, 45 days. Right? So here, right, my main objective is not how to implement. My main objective to make you understand how you can take the decision that for this given context, I need to use this design pattern. Implementation is very easy. Anyone can implement, right? But when to use that particular design pattern, taking that decision is more important than implementation. Clear? Anyone having any more question, guys?
So, like you are not going to continue the start and microservice again, or this one you are going to continue?
No, no, it will take 45 days, right? Why I'm not taking microservices means, right, morning time I'm not getting that much of time, right, to take such big ready sessions, right? And microservices I will start, right, again in the evening time once that Angular batch is completed. So at that
Okay.
time, right, microservices, right, I will take in the evening time. Yeah. So once, right, once that 45 days design pattern is completed, then I will start, right, C# with the DSA. That is also right. I actually many members are interested C# with the DSA, but that is again going to be a very long duration program. So before that, right, I need to complete this small. Okay. Anyone else having any more question? Guys, please wait 1 minute. I'm going to share the document in the chat window. So immediately once the session completed, I will share the document. So who should wait for the next day? Whoever attend the session. Okay, it is being used. So let me close this one. Let me close this one.
Sir, this design pattern batch will be conducted in morning or evening?
Morning, morning.
Morning. Okay. Yeah.
Evening that Angular is going on.
Yeah. So it will be continuous, like you'll be taking a continuous session.
Yes, yes. Because right till this month end, right, I am having some personal work, but I will figure out some time to complete your batch. From the next month, right, I have some right. I can take the sessions regularly. Guys, I have uploaded the document. Please download it. So it is good, right? Right to share the document, right, immediately once the live session is complete, instead of waiting and all these things. And again, right, many members are not attending the live session. So whoever joined the session and whoever, right, inform me prior to the session that they are unable to attend the live session, I will share the documents to them personally.
Pranay, I'm not able to. This content can't be viewed here. It is showing.
Sorry,
I don't know why. This content can't be viewed here. It is showing on my chat window.
you just need to download. Download option is available or not?
No, no. It is showing that this content can't be viewed here.
Don't know. Guys, are you
I
all
don't know
facing,
why.
guys? Anyone having the same issue?
No.
Yes, sir.
No. I am able to do.
You are able to download. So you just download it. So in that
No, but
content,
there is no link.
what is that
I
link?
am actually connecting from my new I tab, so I
No, there
don't
is
know
a
what is this.
no. If you hover over it, there is a three dots. On that you click, it will be download option
But
will be there.
it is not showing three
Now,
dots.
which one you are using? iPad or what
iPad,
exactly?
iPad, iPad.
I'm not sure. Maybe because we use desktop, so we hover over it, or you can see the download
Yeah,
icon.
No, no issue, right?
it's in
Whoever
this.
unable to say, don't put the extra effort. So whoever unable to download, ping me in Telegram. I will immediately share the document. That's fine.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Guys, whoever unable to download the document, please ping me. I will share the document immediately.
Okay.
But sir, you will share this in microservice batch group as well, right? Yeah.
No, no, because right, it's very disappointed. I'm very much disappointed because right, more than 150 members are there. And how many of you are attending the live session? You tell me.
Hardly 50. 25. 20 to 25.
Not right, even
20.
after giving right prior information, right, that this is what I'm going to discuss. Please, right after sending request and again and again, if people are not attending the live session, then what should I do? Because I want more and more number of students to attend the live session. If they are not attending, that means they are not taking me seriously. So why should I take seriously them? Right? So few members are there, right, who have informed me that they are unable to attend the live session. That's fine. I can share the documents to them personally. Okay. Clear, guys?
Yeah, clear.
So tomorrow we have class, right?
Yes, yes. Tomorrow we are having another session. We'll discuss core data.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.